I thought it was based on Sole Trader, but I believe, Johann, you're going to tell me the name comes from somewhere else. Where does Soul come from?
Firstly, hello. Very nice to meet you guys. Sorry that it's taken me this long to actually get into this community. Um, so I essentially started Soul 3 years ago, but we launched into the App Store February this year with the proper application that's going to work for sole traders. And lots of people trip up the name with Soul relating it to sole traders, but the name actually stems from Soul as in the only or single application that you need to run your business. So it's
Ah,
actually a little bit it's actually a little bit more than just accounting. So I know there's been some questions in the past around, can you schedule and this isn't just for PTs, but we're focusing on PTs at the moment, but we've had, questions in the past around, can I schedule my aircon install, a week from now, raise the invoice, that kind of stuff. And we're actually building that functionality now. So you'd be able to schedule your clients, it can automatically send the invoice, you can get paid straight away without lifting a finger. That's kind of the solution, I guess, that we're trying to provide. It's more of an end-to-end as opposed to just an accounting application that sits on your phone.
okay. And as I understand it, you can take payments through the Soul app as well.
Yeah, so not directly through Sol. So in order to make sure that everyone's data is very protected, we actually integrate with different banks. So that's how you can actually do your reconciliations, but also through software called Instant Pay. Now, Instant Pay is essentially a company that's an Australian, so it's onshore as well, that actually facilitates that. It's kind of like an e-wallet, like a digital e-wallet. So you can facilitate the payments through that. Now, for a PT, that might not be 100% appropriate. And the reason is that each one of those transactions would cost you $1.50 to process, right? So in principle, it's good if you have a client that's $50. You'd lose $1.50 though, but you'd get that money that evening at 6 p.m. But we have actually had feedback from one of our clients around direct debits. Now, this is where I think a real benefit would be for a fitness professional. So, what we're trying to do in the next 2 or 3 months is actually link up that entire process from you scheduling or creating a client in Soul. It will then actually register when you are doing the training for that client that you can change, obviously, but let's just for the time being assume that stays the same every week. So you will do that training on a Monday. It will automatically send the invoice to the client. It'll automatically do the direct debit. It'll then automatically reconcile that transaction in your bank feed and then be able to send it to your account at a click of a button. So you wouldn't have to do any of that. It's all automated and you will 100% get paid. Now, people always say to me, how much would that actually cost? And I can't just release it just yet because we're still going through the contracting with them, but we're going to negotiate with the buying power of Soul to be able to actually decrease that for all of our clients and members. And I guess that's what we're trying to provide. Coming back to the name again of Soul, is can we use the buying power that Soul has by bringing everyone together to get everyone a better deal?
Fantastic. That sounds great. And certainly, there's a lot of trainers I know, and I was very similar. And Lewis, I don't know how you were as well as a trainer. You get really caught up. You're in the business because you want to train people, but the notion of actually doing the bookkeeping and everything else is an absolute drag. And you get to the end of the year, like now, the financial year, and you'd be going, oh man, where's all those expenses? I've got to pull all together. And then you give this wad of stuff to the accountant or whatever else and hope that they can sort it out. If I could jump in again, and before Lewis, I'm sure Lewis has questions with regards to your expenses. So let's say I'm a trainer and I'm incurring expenses throughout the financial year. Can they be recorded in the Soul app as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, all you've got to do is take a photo of your receipt in the application. Now, it's also recommended that even if you don't use an accounting application currently, to still take a photo of that receipt because they fade, because you actually have to keep them for 7 years. But in Soul, if you take the photo, you type in a couple of details and it actually stores it for you in there. And then you can do that reconciliation against your bank feed that comes in, meaning that you're ready for tax time. And you made a very interesting comment there before, Dennis, around giving that box of receipts to your accountant. If you do that and it's not reconciled, they will actually have to charge you more to do your tax at the end of the year because nothing is actually linked up or reconciled or matched. It kind of is just a box that they need to work through. So the time that it takes them to actually prepare your tax records is going to take longer, which means it's going to be more expensive for you. So by doing these little things, by taking the photo, by just swiping and doing that match, it'll actually hopefully save you money come at the end of tax time.
Okay, can you go back? You mentioned reconcile. So is this, how much accounting knowledge does anyone need to have to be able to use this reconcile? Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I guess the whole purpose of Soul is to have a very easy user interface. Anyone should be able to use it. You should not have any or need any accounting knowledge or understanding to actually use the application. When I'm talking reconcile, what I mean is when something comes into your bank account, you need to obviously match that, whether it's, let's say, an invoice or an expense. We'll go with an expense. You need to match that expense to whatever the deduction is that you want, i.e. the receipt. So all you got to do is tell Sol, match that receipt to that bank transaction, and then your accountant will be able to go at the end of the year, tick, that then meets the ATO requirements for, yes, it's a deduction, and then that'll actually get applied to your end of year tax.
Yeah, nice.
So it's just making it simple for you, all on your phone or on a desktop app. We're releasing that app in about 2 weeks from now. So that's going to be really good if you want to, schedule your invoices at the end of the week and, do all of it at once, maybe on a bigger screen.
Is that available on both Android and Apple?
Yeah, it was absolutely. So we've got the mobile version as it currently stands on both Android and Apple. And there's another or a few more sprints of new functionality coming out, like that direct debit functionality that I spoke about before, that'll go into all of the platforms.
Okay. Does the Soul app, do you connect it to your bank account, or do you manually reconcile things? How does that work?
So essentially, when you log in for the first time, it'll take you through how to use the application. And we've actually just launched a boot camp as well that takes you through in about 6 to 7 minutes on how the whole application works. And it explains everything that you need to do in order to stay on top of your accounts and your business management. But essentially, when you log in the first time, it'll say, do you want to connect your bank account? You just click yes. And then all you do is you basically click on your client number and your password, and it'll automatically link that through to your bank directly. So we never see any of the transaction data to protect your privacy, right? Essentially, it links directly to your bank through an API, and then that feeds into Soul, and then you can reconcile and do that matches directly through the app.
Excellent. Okay. What would be your key piece of advice for trainers using the Soul app? What's something that might come up regularly and you just think, this is the message that I want everyone to hear?
So I've had, when I started thinking about doing Soul, I actually started doing a bit of focus groups around, what is the actual business problem we're trying to solve? And I had a couple of PT friends, one that was training at Good Life and one was doing at, I think, World Gym. And both of them, the biggest problem that they had is they had lots of clients, but they weren't getting money in through the door. And it was funny when we started looking at how they were doing their processes. They were sending invoices via Excel now, which was great. They were at least sending an invoice. There was a record to them meeting that requirement. A couple of problems, though, is that the invoices didn't have invoice numbers on them, both of them, which means that it's not actually meeting the requirements of what an invoice should be. It also didn't look professional because it didn't have a logo or anything like that on that. So Soul solves that problem straight away because there's template you can use, it looks professional out of the box, and it meets that requirement. But the biggest thing I think that you can take away from having an application like Soul is actually the ability to follow up that invoice. So like I said, they didn't get money through the door. The reason being is they sent their invoices through Excel. It met or did the requirement. But the problem was they sent it and forgot that the client never paid them.
Yeah.
So they trained them, they never got paid, and then essentially they forget to follow up that payment. And when they ask the client, 3 months down the track, then it's like, oh, but I have paid you, I haven't paid you, and all of that. Whereas if it's reconciled, once again, big word, but it's in Soul registered, you can then actually see what's been paid and what hasn't, meaning that you'll always get paid, and you actually get paid faster because it sends automatic reminders when that's overdue, and you can set how long that takes. And like I said, link in the instant payments and the direct debits, and you've got a winner.
I was actually going to ask you whether it does send reminders, so that actually takes another job off your desk by sending reminders to the clients? And do you get alerts if there's, you know, like a delinquent, like if they've been a certain amount of time unpaid?
Absolutely. And it also tells you actually before it's due. So 3 days before it's due, I think I think it's 3 days. I think 3 days before it's due, it actually tells you that it's about to become due. So it gives you that opportunity to follow up, as well as when it's overdue as well, to make sure that you can get that payment. The other cool thing with our invoicing module is, let's say, you know, hypothetically, you're training someone and they have to stop training because they're going overseas for work for a month, or something like that. What you can actually do is send them that last invoice. And on there, there's a functionality that we call follow-up work reminder. But how it would work essentially is you would send that invoice to them and you would make a note in there, right? That would say, hey, Bob, you are going to leave for a month. So in 4 weeks from now, follow up Bob to say to him, can we restart our training? Now, you can set that up as a reminder for yourself to follow up Bob, you know, give him a call if that's the way that you roll, or you can get Sol to send that to him automatically in a professional invoice to say, hey, Bob, just want to check in, mate. Am I happy to book you in for our Monday sessions again? So there's a couple of cool features that we've tried to build in the last few months to actually just make that admin piece a lot easier and make sure that you don't lose any work.
That's nice. That's excellent. And it is great to hear too that you are adapting Sol to based on the feedback that you're getting from the users. One of the things that I think it's worth mentioning to people is that you know, you're not a developer as such creating something for like a space that you think is needed. You're actually coming from that accounting background. Could you just give us some more insight into your background in bookkeeping, accounting, and how it sort of moved into creating the Sol app?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I started Solab, like I said, 3 years ago. We started the development and the process from there. But previous to that, I was actually an accountant and accountant by trade. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big four accounting firms. I was a little bit bored with that. Then I moved into more of a digital delivery side of actually implementing much larger scale accounting systems, to, you know, the likes of Queensland Health and really big companies. I actually then realized that there was a lot of synergies between what I was doing there at work, my background of accounting, and some of the problems my mates were facing. So Sol actually was born from my friend Leslie, who was a tradie who got absolutely stung by a tax accountant because he was doing all the wrong things and was sending invoices by Excel, following things up, and he got absolutely hammered at the end of the tax year with a massive tax bill. And I kind of realized that, you know, when we sat down and went through some of these things, that they're all fixable and that it's all about actually just a little bit of education and providing a simple tool that people can just use. And I kind of used those three things to come together to actually develop Sol. And our mission is by no means to say, this is what you need, this is how you will use it. What we actually want is to build it from the bottom up. So we focus just on the Australian market. And like I said to you in the call before, Dennis, we really want to focus on fitness professionals as one of our key industries at this point in time. So we don't want to just go big bang, here it is for everyone. What we want to do is actually, and we have that foundation application now, but now it's time to build that up from the ground to make sure that we get the right functionality in there to make it a really fit for purpose solution for people like yourselves.
I think it's fantastic. I think, as I said before, you know, trainers and fitness professionals are not necessarily renowned for being all over the business side of things. Certainly I wasn't. And having an easy solution does seem like a very, very good tool for the industry. Is there any questions that you want to throw in there, Lewis?
Yeah, a couple. I just wanted to say something as well. And it also gives a lot more time for the trainers to focus on what they're good at, and that's to train, focus on their clients, so they don't really have to. Like I've been in the industry like long enough to see a lot of trainers do a lot of different things, and you'll find that, you know, they might have back-to-back clients from, you know, 6 a.m. to about midday, and then spend a few hours doing some bookkeeping stuff, and then have more clients in the afternoon, and they don't really get much time to themselves. So yeah, just getting something that's so easy to use and simplifies your process helps you kind of have time to yourself and also to focus more on what you're doing. And nobody really likes chasing up clients for money either. So having those invoices being sent out with reminders and things is a great little tool. Also, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the partnerships that you've made over the last few months, just to help grow Soul App as a business, and how it's benefiting your clientele as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess whenever you start a new application, it's very difficult to decide what industries you're going to go to, because essentially the app works for all industries in Australia, as long as you're a sole trader, basically, or a one-man band. So what we decided to do in the end is actually target specific industries, and like I said before, was build the application up to solve their problems, and then we'll roll that out industry to industry. And like I said, as part of my focus groups, we really focused on what do PT specifically need, and then came across, I guess, fitrec, and that's kind of where this partnership grew, and then this was fairly successful, and then that kind of grew into other partnerships. So what we're hoping to do now is actually go beyond just industry partners and actually provide, or come back to the mission and vision of Soul, of using the buying power to actually make partnerships like that direct debit one, to actually provide benefit to our clientele again. So if you own a small business such as a gym or something and you need an FPOS solution, we've actually just signed up a different partner, named Zeller, to give you benefit on actually getting your FPOS terminals for half the price and not having any fees. Now, the only way we can do that is because we're promising or showing that we've got multiple clients onboarded through our platform, and we'll be able to show them that. So we don't make any money out of that kind of stuff, but what we are doing is actually providing a bit of a bundle deal, I guess, of as a Soul customer, you can get all of these benefits to solve your business problems.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I love the idea that you're staying in your lane. You're saying this is our product. This is what we're selling. This other stuff we're getting in here. We're more or less giving you the best price we can, just to ensure that we're doing the best we can in our space. Any other questions, Lewis?
We've got a few questions from our members. I think we can go through that.
Yep, please.
Do you have them there with you?
Oh, no, sorry, I don't. I thought you had them.
Give me a sec.
All right, sorry. And just while Lewis is looking that up, there is a good deal going for fitrec registered professionals that sign up to the Soul app. Can you talk us through that, Johann?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially what we always provide is we want to give everyone an ability to use the app for free, just to see if it works for your business. The last thing we want to do is take your money and then it doesn't work for you. Right? So the normal price of Soul per month is $15 a month. So a lot cheaper than all of our competitors out there. The reason being is because we're only Australian focused, we can actually do that, and afford to do that. Specifically for fitrec members, though, we're actually providing a 3-month free trial, or an extended free trial. So you've basically got 90 days, no risk, where you can try the application and see if it works for your business. And with the roadmap of things coming out, with the Soul Academy, where there's hints, tips and tricks on our website, where it actually takes you through, what to look out for, what are the pitfalls, and what should you focus on next potentially, to help you grow your business and all that kind of stuff. I think that there's a real benefit, like I said, in that package deal, for that. And always happy to take feedback. I mean, if there's something that you want to know, more than likely I can probably pick up an industry partner somewhere that can answer that question for you. Or if there's something that all PTs need or fitness professionals need that we can approach a company and get a better deal from, more than happy to take that feedback. It doesn't need to just be about functionality in the application.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. $15 a month, you said?
$15 a month.
$15 a month. That's a very, very reasonable rate to have all of your bookkeeping and everything sorted for the year. And 3 months to try it out. I'm going to throw one curly one at you. Lewis has sent through these questions, but I'm going to throw a curly one. If you're using the app and you're uploading a bunch of data, and then at some point you decide, I'm not going to use this app anymore, are you able to download your data, or is that sort of stuck there in the app while you're a member?
No, absolutely not. So the data remains yours, but I'll take that in two segments. The first thing is like I said, we only focus on the Australian market. So your data is actually stored in an AWS server onshore, so nothing leaves Australia. So I just want to make that very clear initially, because I think that that's very important nowadays. The second thing is that, like I said, the data remains yours. So you can always download that information. You've always got the ability to send it to your accountant. And with the web app coming out, you can now, it'll be even more easy to do that now, actually. It'll be even easier because you can actually download all of those PDFs of the invoices, your expenses, all of that stuff through the bigger computer, which makes that whole process even easier in about 2 weeks from now.
Yep. Yeah, fantastic. Beautiful. All right, I've got a couple of questions that Lewis has sent through. The first one is like, can you give an example of the journey the fitness professional can expect using Soul? You've already given a good insight into the onboarding process and the opportunities for them to learn. There's also, in terms of if someone is at any point having challenges with using Soul, your personal email address is on the fitrec site, so they can reach out to you directly.
Normally I wouldn't do that, but because you're a partner, I guess what we decided to do is actually put the personal email up there. So if you've got any questions, I mean, you'll be emailing me directly, and I'll be able to respond to you, and we can work through that. I can give you a call. Like I said, there's a whole learning hub on our website as well, with every single process that you can do within Soul, documented step by step, explaining why you need to do it, how it works, with the accompanying video as well, taking you through step by step of why we've done everything the way we have.
Beautiful. All right. Sorry if that was a surprise that your personal email is up there. How does Soul send invoices and take payments from clients? You've already touched on this. I assume it's emails for invoices. They're not sending text messages or anything like that?
No, it's via email. Yeah, via email. And the version that's coming out in a day or two, actually, what we've just put in is the ability for you to actually send that or BCC that email to your own email as well. Yeah, that gives you a copy straight away to make sure that it's gone through and that there hasn't been any problems. So that's actually another piece of feedback that we got from one of our clients. So you can turn that on or off. Where in the past it was obviously just sending it to your clients and registering it in Soul. You can actually now get that email as well to see what it looked like on the other side.
Okay, thank you very much. We've already spoken about the schedulizer. You're building something like that in, so there's a full process on the Soul app, but it's not quite ready. You're saying a few months away?
Yeah, I think it's about 2 or 3 months away for that to happen. We've actually called it a calendar, not a schedulizer, but it's going to be very similar. And like I said before, essentially what we envisioned it to be, from what we understand from our focus groups, was actually scheduling that activity. So if you were to schedule Bob once again on a Monday, you'd actually schedule that, click yes, this has actually occurred. It would then send that invoice, take the payment, and do the reconciliation for you. But if there's specific things you want in that schedulizer, different records that you want to keep, something like that, I would love to actually get that feedback from your, members, to actually understand how we can specialize that to make it work for them. I mean, it's a pretty good opportunity to do it now rather than once it's live in the application. It makes that development process a lot easier for me, but always happy to even go back and add those things in if needed.
Yeah,
I think when we speak about schedulizers in the industry, for us, it's more just about, like you said, like a calendar, being able to book your clients in, have reminders, whether it's a day before, a few hours before, they get sent out to your client to say, don't forget, this is the location. If you're doing on-site training or at a local park or whatever, this is the day, this is the time, and it gives opportunity for the client to also reschedule. So they'll be able to see on the calendar of their trainer what days and times they're available to work and what spaces they have free. So I think that's what we mean in terms of scheduling appointments and things like that.
And all of those things are included. So you'll be able to link in your calendar and be able to see when they're available. I don't know if specifically the rescheduling is going to be in there, but I can write that down. I think that's a pretty good thing we can take away and have a look at.
Okay, a couple of other expenses. Expenses. It's on my brain now. A couple of other questions, like what can you claim as a Fit Pro? Now, I hit you up for this before we started this whole session, and you made it clear that you are under advisement not to talk, accounting advice. That's not the role. So I'll spare you that one. But suffice to say, the upside is that everything. I think you're saying that you've got to check things with your accountant, but things like registration, for example, and other expenses incurred in the process of doing your job are often able to be claimed. I think you're saying something about
the line normally is if it's expense that you pay, not your employer, in line of earning your income. Normally, that's what warrants being a deduction. So like we said, their registration fees, clothes, equipment, that normally ticks the box. But it's always best to check your accounting because there's sometimes limits to what you can have and all that kind of stuff. So.
On that clothes item, does it have to have your logo on it or something to constitute a uniform?
Yeah, I believe that it does, but I'm not 100% sure, mate. Like that's what I mean. Like I haven't read the tax rules in a long time because that's not really the space that we play in. What we actually do is do all the record keeping to give them the ability to make it easy for them to get that deduction.
Yeah, sure.
And the worst thing you can do, right? That's actually a good point. The worst thing you can do is take a photo because it's so simple, put it in there, and ask your accountant to make it a deduction. It'll maximize your tax return by doing that, by you just keeping that process in place. So even if you don't understand it, even if you don't want to do the reading, take the 10 seconds, do the record keeping, and flow it through to your accountant, and who knows, maybe you'll maximize your tax return this year.
Yeah, it sounds like a very good idea. Yeah, put it in there and just let the accountant decide, whether it's suitable.
Basically, your shoebox of receipts analogy.
What's that now?
Basically, your shoebox of receipts analogy, but it's just easier and simpler and going to cost you less money to do.
Yeah, sure. Last question, and it's an easy one. Do you have an option to consolidate all expenses and submit them to your accountant? Short answer, yes.
Yeah, press it button, you set it up in the app and just press send. Very soon, the accountant will actually be able to log in and see what you've done in the application as well. So that's under development at this point in time, meaning that it's even easier and will hopefully save you even more money from tax time. They can log in and see what you've done as opposed to having to reconcile it all.
This is fantastic, man. $15 a month. It sounds like well worth consideration, and certainly, as you've mentioned, 3 months free to try it out. As a FitRec member, I would say, look, there's a lot of worse things you could do than get on there, check it out for 3 months, and see how it works for you. Because I think indubitably it's going to save a lot of time, it's going to save a lot of stress, and ultimately, as you say, it's going to save a lot of money at the other end when you're dealing with the accountant at this time in 12 months. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat, Johann. I very much appreciate it. Lewis, did you have anything before we sign off?
No, I think that pretty much covered it. I don't know if you spoke, Johann, about the invoices that are sent, whether we can edit them and put business logos on there and make some changes to it, or is it kind of like a template that's already there?
Yeah, so there is a professional template. I guess we covered it slightly when we were talking around the Excel invoices. So you're able to add your logo and personalize it, but it keeps that structure of what is needed needed in an invoice to be, a legal tax invoice. And that can then actually get you rolling pretty quick. So within, how long ever it takes you to select your logo from your camera roll, you can basically get started with, let's send some invoices and win some work.
Yeah, awesome. Nice work.
Thank you very much.
No, it's fantastic. Hopefully I didn't bore anyone with accounting, because normally that's the problem that I've got.
No, mate. No. I reckon I think we've kept it pretty punchy. I hope so. People can tell us otherwise. I will make this video available to all of our audience. We'll also share it in our newsletter and put it on the profile as well, so people can see, learn more about yourself, learn more about the app. And I certainly would recommend everyone, at the very minimum, get on board and give that 3-month trial a crack, because it does sound like a worthy tool to be using. Just quietly, do you need to put in a credit card to be able to use the 3 months free?
Yes, for the next 2 weeks. I'm taking it out. So essentially, when that web app gets launched, we've actually had that feedback as well, where people don't want to type in their credit cards. So when the web app comes out in about 2 or 3 weeks from now, that will be gone, and you'll be able to use the 3 months for free without having to type in a credit card. But for the next 2 or 3 weeks, unfortunately, you'll have to do it. But like I said, you won't get charged, and you can always cancel it risk-free within that 3-month period.
Beautiful. I mean, you can learn a lot about any tool by the people that, meeting the people that actually put it together. So thanks so much for your time. And I hope that people get a lot out of it. Thanks very much again, Jane. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you again. All the best, guys.